here with my brother man from the fifth floor, back over in the Hall of Administration side of things.
He's selling it up. Welcome back to another episode of Live from LA County podcast. Today, we have another one of our amazing department heads, and we want you to get to know this gentleman. This gentleman is doing some very interesting work, and without further ado, let me introduce you to Dr. Odey C. Ukpo. How are you, Dr. Ukpo?
Good to be here. Thank you. Good to be here with my brother man from the fifth floor, back over in the Hall of Administration side of things.
He's selling it up.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Human resources in the county, you know, our human resources, we help everyone. And so folks have to know where we are because eventually you have to come through HR. But Dr. Ukpo, give me a moment because I want to introduce you to our audience because there's a lot of folks who are going to be watching this and they may not quite know about you, about your department. So let me give you an intro. Let me give you the proper introduction. So folks, today we want to welcome you back. And as we meet and introduce and talk to our new guest, Dr. Odey Ukpo is the Chief Medical Examiner for Los Angeles County, which is the largest, the busiest, and you can assume the most complex medical examiner's office anywhere in the country. He oversees over 13,000 death investigations every year, including some of the most complex, sensitive, high-profile cases anywhere in this world. With a background in pathology, forensic science, and public service leadership, Dr. Ukpo is also the first African American to hold this role since the department was founded in 1850. Amazing. History right here. In today's conversation, we're going to explore how Dr. Ukpo balances science with humanity and why his work is about justice, accountability, and community healing. Whether you're curious about the forensic sciences, forensic medicine, inspired by the stories you're going to hear today, or you just want to understand a bit more about what happens when a death becomes a public matter, this episode's certainly going to be for you. And Dr. Ukpo, that was your introduction. You know, a lot of folks are going to be, I think, really interested in what your department does and how you operate. Let me ask you, though, and our audience knows this, this is kind of our lead-in story or question. What is your LA story?
Wow, that's a great question because if actually getting to my LA story, we have to talk about my origins of where I came from. And I grew up in Anaheim. And when I was in Anaheim, I was my last name is Ukpo. And Ukpo is Nigerian. And the name means venerable leader. What happens is the family name became a thing. It was actually changed. It was one name before, but we became Ukpo because we had this uncanny ability to locate salt, which was a very important resource. And so it became, our name got changed to Ukpo. So people know where I'm from, and I'm from Nigeria is where that name came from. But also part of my last name too also became, you know, the only Black person was added to my last name wherever I went. Schools and everything, and it caused me to have these sort of introspective questions of really deep questions about things that are important, like, you know, is Count Chocula Black?
Really important questions.
Really important questions, and but just finding identity and association is something positive. And so fast forward, I have two siblings, two brothers and a sister, older brother, younger brother, and a younger sister. And I came to LA just actually, after I trained in forensic pathology, I was looking for a job. And there's about 20 to 30 graduates in the country per year in our field. So I thought it would be like an easy job. Oh, I'll get a job anywhere. They're going to be looking for folks. But I got rejections after rejections and various things, and even got rejected initially from LA with my application.
Sorry.
For a technicality. It wasn't anyone's fault. It was a technicality. But I had to fight my way back to get to Los Angeles,
Great.
and I'm glad that I did because of all the great challenges that came with it. The opportunities that I got from being in LA with the challenges you talked about, like the celebrity deaths, but also the number of deaths and the things that we see. And so, really proud to be back in
Excellent.
LA in this part of my career.
Excellent. I'm glad you fought to get back. I really am. I really am. As one of our department heads, a lot of folks may not understand what your actual job duties, responsibilities are as the chief medical examiner. Some of our older folks, like, yes, I just did say older guy. Some of the folks here in LA, especially back in the day when it was all about, some of the interesting Hollywood deaths and things like that, used to have the name coroner, and now you're considered medical examiner. Can you tell our audience a little bit about like what you do, what you're responsible for, and tell us about your name and that change?
Yeah, thanks for that. It's a big story that the word coroner was in our department's name for a very long time.
Yes.
However, we never operated as a coroner's office. And in fact, our name prior was medical examiner dash coroner, which doesn't really make much sense either. And so 2 years ago, we finally made that big leap to change our department name change from medical examiner to coroner. I mean, from coroner, medical examiner, coroner
Good.
to medical examiner. And so the reason why that's so important is that you have to look at who heads the department and what their purpose is, and you can get a sense of the mission and vision when you know who the leader is. And so the leader in a medical examiner's office is a forensic pathologist who has a background in forensic pathology training and independently determines the cause and manner of death in sudden unexpected deaths. Now, what people don't know frequently is that the purpose of the medical examiner's office is to inform the public of causes of sudden unexpected death and in order to prevent premature death. And we do this by informing targeted interventions. And some people think that the medical examiner's office is really about investigating with the purpose of punishment in the end, to hold someone accountable or go to jail and that kind of thing. When really we're not, we're about justice. And justice is the equal treatment of all, which means that, you know, just because you're accused doesn't mean you're guilty. And we don't take that perspective. We think that the person who we actually exonerate folks with giving the details of our findings sometimes. That's an important function, but
Yes.
sometimes it does lead to prevention by incarcerating someone who for like a homicide, for example. And so we're there for both sides of those things, and so that's where we are firmly planted in justice, not just crime and punishment per se. And in a coroner's office, the lead of the department is typically a law enforcement agency, like the sheriff's department, for example, is one of the more common settings. And the reason why we have this distinction, we have so many coroner's offices, is because there's not many graduates, as I mentioned, in forensic pathology. So there's not enough of us to staff every single jurisdiction. So some jurisdictions have a coroner system where they hire doctors to determine the cause of death, but then their agency also, which is typically law enforcement, will also determine the manner of death. And manner of death are things like accidents, like a traffic accident, suicides, homicides, death at the hands of another, and also undetermined, where we don't know what the circumstances that led to the death were. And so, to give an idea for folks, an example that was very public of a well-known case is, if you imagine George Floyd's case, if you can imagine the police officers who were involved with involved with his arrest, if they were the ones doing the autopsy and determining the manner of death, that's what a coroner's office would look like. But in Minneapolis, it's a medical examiner's office where it's a separate entity. It independently determines the cause and the manner of death. And so LA County is very fortunate to have that system. That's not a very common one in the country. Surrounding jurisdictions are typically coroners' offices, but we can say that here in Los Angeles County, we have an independent death review by a medical examiner's office.
I mean, there's a lot that you all are responsible for based upon what you just shared. When when you were a kid growing up, right, and you're thinking, I don't know if it was television shows. I don't know if you found this path when once you were in medical school. Like, how did you get on this path as one of those 20 to 30 special people in this country that want to do this work and are in school to do it? How did you decide upon this?
Yeah, so this is an interesting journey
Yeah.
to get to where I was because prior to medical school, I wanted to be a forensic pathologist, but it's all started first with me wanting to be a homicide detective. And so as a kid, that was the first thing I was like, wow, that's really cool. They're like, they would, detectives looking at a scene, you have the tape, do not cross, they're investigating, they're trying to find the person that killed this individual so that they don't do it again to someone else. So I found that like very intriguing. And then I met my family physician as a kid, and I thought it was really cool that he would come, dressed in scrubs,
Mm-hmm.
dirty work. He'll have, potentially if he needs blood to get on his coat, kind of work, get his hands dirty.
Yeah.
But then another day I would see him in a suit. And I thought that was a really cool sort of dichotomy. And it kind of reminded me of someone I was a big fan of was James Bond. Because James Bond, he would do the dirty work and
Mm-hmm.
fight, and then in the evening he would be in his tuxedo,
Yeah. Yeah.
getting a martini, etc. We know the lines, and I thought that was really cool. And then I love science,
Yes.
and so you kind of put that together, and also psychiatry as well. Like, why do people do the things that they do, and thinking about it, and putting all those things together, working with my hands, detective, loving medicine and the like. Yeah, that's what got me here.
Drew
That
you
this
there.
was a perfect match for me.
How big is your department?
So right now we have about a staff of a little over 250 is our
Okay.
staff. We have positions that we've grown over the years, and so we're growing. And to give you an idea of staff differences amongst in the country, New York gets about 8,500 deaths handled per year in their jurisdiction, and reportedly they also have a staff of 600 folks to do that work. And here in LA County, we get about 12 to 13,000 deaths, and we have a little bit over 250, but budgeted for 300 folks
Okay.
to do that kind of work. So it's a very special group of people here
Yeah.
that I'm very happy to be the leader of them because they really do outstanding work. Because it's not the stuff that we have, but how we respond to challenges
Yeah.
is what is our greatness is in. And so I'm happy to be part of that staff.
Tell me a little bit about your department. Anything about your department's mission, vision, values. I assume you all have a strategic plan, like most departments within the County of Los Angeles. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so good timing because we're actually just almost complete with our strategic plan.
Okay.
And we're working on those things like mission and vision statement. And for our mission, we want to we want to champion timely community awareness to causes of sudden unexpected death in order to prevent premature deaths by informing targeted interventions. And so informing targeted interventions means, alerting public health to a public health threat, a concern. And they can go out and put the messaging and reach out to people and prevent deaths that way. One example of that would be like Narcan with fentanyl. Everyone knows about fentanyl deaths. And so all that messaging about Narcan usage and prevention all came from the medical examiner saying,
Wow.
hey, this is a cause of death. We need to address this and help out the community. So we didn't do the messaging. We're kind of like a
Mhm.
behind the scenes, but we were the critical part to name that as a threat.
Awesome.
And so then we also want to be the model of justice
Mhm.
through the entire country and leading it with innovation, but not just any innovation, but courageous innovation, which means sometimes we're going to say, hey, is this the right thing to do? And it looks kind of scary, but actually it might have the best outcome, and we go for those things to be the leader in that. So not just innovation, but just courageous innovation. And I talked about what justice is to us is to treat the equal treatment for all, but also anticipating other people's needs.
Got it. Got it. Look, there's some young person watching right now. They're on track to go to medical school. They're on track to do this, and I gotta tell you, like, I'm hearing champion justice, courageous innovation, equality. Those are big words. Those are big words that I'm sure someone watching is gonna go, I want to be part of that. I want to be part of delivering that to their community, to this community in LA. And I also saw what you did a second ago as well. And you're looking a little surprised, folks. But I think that was a little bit of a plea to the Board of Supervisors, to our CEO, and folks that just suggest that over the next several years, there is room to grow your department to even more folks that can help. As you relay those numbers, though, I couldn't help but think about your staff and maybe what are you doing related to the health, wellness of your staff? Are you offering? I know the county in general has some resources. Do you offer resources and opportunities for your staff who's dealing with other people's loss to actually deal with that in a way that's productive for them?
Yeah, so really excited. One example of support that we have been getting from the county and also CEO is we got a position for in-house psychologist. It's her first year, so we're very happy to have her with us in a department to help our staff, handle those things because we really see people consistently on their worst days of their life is what's expected. It's not a random event like today was a kind of day. This is the day that was the worst.
Yeah.
And that's where we consistently meet people. So it's important for us to have support for our staff. So we have wellness activities, events. One most recently, I put myself in a dunk tank, for folks to have some fun and throw a ball. And I got nailed.
Okay.
I
All
did
right.
get
All
dunked.
right.
My team has a good arm. They got a strong arm and the kind of thing. And that was the most recent event
Okay.
that we have just to make it fun and also to think about how our work is actually pretty awesome, what we do, because, there's got to be some fatigue too, because empathy is, you don't have unlimited amount of empathy, but
Mm.
when someone comes with a very heavy thing, and you empathize with them every day, that starts to weigh on you. It starts to cause fatigue for yourself. And so want to make sure that staff are taking care of themselves. And
Yeah.
I encourage people to take walks at work and, take a break and, really recharge, but also think about our true purpose because people often think that we speak for the dead. And so I keep telling people we don't have Ouija boards and we don't have seances, and the like. We don't have Dionne Warwick working for us. I'm dating myself now, and so we don't actually speak for the dead
Yeah.
because no harm or bad can happen to them. And oftentimes the dead they die with secrets. They die of their secret,
Wow.
and our work is public record. So we have to inform the public of the cause of death in an accurate way so people know, hey, don't go in there. Something's going to happen. And that's why I think that, if you think about a dead body, people are going to want to get away from it, right?
Yeah.
There's a natural
Naturally.
feel like, oh my goodness, it's over there.
Exactly.
And then as the body starts to change, there's other things that happen, the smells and the like, right? Because I think that the natural thing a human wants to do is get away from a situation that someone died. And that's our natural way
Yes.
to get away from that situation. So our staff consistently jump into those situations
Yeah.
to determine the cause of death, despite that being a scary location, and that's to help everybody else. And so our mission is like in medicine, it's usually about a patient. You're working with the patient, you're treating them. Again, us, it's about treating the community and telling them about those causes of death so that they can steer away from it and know the signs so that they can help save the lives and empower people to do that and intervene.
Is there any advice? You've just explained that your department staff spend a lot of time moving toward death when the most of the general public is moving away, trying to move away from it. Is there some advice for our community that might be watching about dealing with loss, dealing with death? I think you've said a couple of things that may resonate with some of us, but anything you would share with folks?
Yeah, so there's the different phases of grief. People have heard of these, right? And we see them all at unpredictable stages. And I just want people to know that it's all right. Whatever you're feeling right now that's okay.
Yeah.
Um, and we go through those phases, and even personally, we've gone through it ourselves, and but not in such a sudden, dramatic way. And sometimes people start to feel alone in their experience as well. And I just want to encourage folks to also what they're probably missing in their heart that they're trying to find is the meaning. What is the meaning for this death, which is another phase, a much later phase of it, and that's a great thing that people can do is channel into that. So uh, we don't actually give closure to families. That's a common thing that people say. Well, it's such a wonderful work that you do that you bring closure. And I would say to families, I don't ever give you closure by telling you why your loved one died. I don't think that respects the process
Mhm.
that they're going through, what they're experiencing, and that I could somehow close it by giving a cause of death. And the example I give is Emmett Till. If we know the history of Emmett Till, a young black man, child actually, that died in the South. He was accused of accosting a white woman, and he was shot, beaten, and thrown into a river. The cause of death there, very simple: gunshot wound of head. The forensic pathologist did not give closure to that mother by telling her that he died from the gunshot wound of head. In fact, she decided to take the brave journey and televise, show her son's condition, even though he was decomposing, to the world in the TV, photographs. Say, look what racism has done to my son, and we need to do something. So she was trying to find meaning in his death, and I think that uh,
Wow.
that as a forensic pathologist, I don't ever assume to you that I've been able to have this touch that say cause of death, you're good now. No, there's no way. I know people are looking for that meaning and to find groups. Reach out to a specialist to help you with those struggles and the like. Because medical examiner, we're not the specialists that can help you with those things, but that's something that we definitely see, and I would urge people to seek if they ever run across us.
Yeah, that speaks to the fact that that you all actually brought in a psychologist to help your team because we're going to need out you all needed, for example, outside resources to help
Mm.
deal with some of the stressors of the work that you all have. Tell me what's your biggest challenge right now, either for your department or in the field of medical examiner. What's your biggest challenge?
I think the biggest challenge that we face is one that's going to take some time to work on is the perception of the purpose of our work. I think when you show up and people frequently say the same thing about what you guys do, it shows that actually that's not what we're about. We're not, again, for like speaking for the dead. And I think that it's really important because then it also shows how people value the work that you do by those statements.
Mhm.
But then not just those statements, but then also what we're given, if it's considered, for facilities and various things is that, well, this is the purpose. They speak for the dead. This is what you get, and sort of thing. So trying to change that message, and also the coroner, removing that from the lexicon of, for LA speak of the medical legal death
Got it.
investigations in our county. So we still have situations where even in the media they'll say coroner, we're waiting for the coroner. Look, there's no such thing as a coroner in LA County.
Got it.
I want to make sure
Folks,
there's no such thing as a coroner in LA County. So if people mention them and they say, well, what about the coroner? They don't, it doesn't exist. That role is through the medical examiner's office
We will all
in the
correct them
LA.
now. We've heard it. We know it. We got it. We got it, right, folks?
Mhm.
Okay. So tell me, we've talked about your career. We've talked about your department. I want to get back to you for a moment. And one of the questions the team I think was interested in that they gave me is kind of, can you tell us a pivotal point in your career that led you to this position,
Mhm.
right? You're now the department head. You're now over this work for all of Los Angeles County, the largest county in the U.S. Tell us a pivotal moment that got you to sit in this chair.
Wow, that's a that's a great question. Thinking about
Team.
it, team came. That's a good one. Trying to think about that question, and I think what I'll start off with is my leadership style.
Okay.
Maybe that will lead into, and then that lead into the answer for that because for me, I've always been about creating the environment for people's success, and what does that look like? To make sure that they don't have any obstacles, to do a good job and kind of thing. As a team, we can work together and do well because not I can't do that individually. Um, and then the second part of my style is that I want to focus less on what people want to be and think about what they could be. And
Help me with that distinction.
yeah, so the story starts with me. I'll get into what that looked like is the want and could.
Hmm.
So when I came in, I wanted to be a medical examiner, just did cases, autopsies, examinations, and that was it. Had no aspirations for being even a supervisor. Um, and then one day, uh, the department head knocked on my door. I'm like, what's the department head coming to me? I was like, wow, I've been here for what, 4 months? I lost my job, lost my job, right? And but no, he said he wanted to tap me to be the lead for a CT scanner implementation of that in medical legal death investigations in our office, which is a huge project. And I'm like a line staff person, but I never really said, "Hey, I'm line staff." I just saw that this is what he was showing me what I could be as part of this department versus what I wanted to be, which was doing
Hmm.
cases. So I said, okay, I'll go ahead and do that. I can do that. And set up the program. And then I started setting up teaching opportunities for teaching fellows, teaching staff how to use the CT scan images. But I had to lead them there to make them feel safe because it was a new field. There was a lot of information, very scary. So I got to lead in that situation. And then I was asked to be, then our department had left, and I was asked to become the acting chief of medicine. I was like, wait. How did, wait, I'm not even a supervisor. I'm at the line staff level. And you want me to do the chief of a division thing? And so I was like, it's happening again. I don't want to do that kind of work. But again, it was just someone saying that this is what you could be instead of what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And did that for 6 months. And then when that was over, they asked me, "Hey, if you'd like to do it again, great." I said, "No way, no way am I going with that." That was a little of a wild experience. But then they asked me to become a supervisor. I said, "Well, let me be part of those conversations." Because that's what I was excited about, being part of the conversations, and it allowed me to do that. And guess what? Again, they asked me to be a promote. So repeatedly, over and over again, and even when our department had left just
Hmm.
before me, my role I thought was just to cover for the county until they found a good candidate. And so I was doing my job, and then suddenly I was before the board of supervisors talking about a 60-day plan. I said, well, okay, in the next 60 days, this is what I have to do to hold it down, keep things afloat. And I didn't really, and then people would think, oh, how did you not know? But really, that's what was in my heart. It was just like, what do you need me to do? And so once again, they were showing me what I could be, not what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my journey to how I got to where I am today. A lot of what I wanted to be isn't what I am now.
Yeah.
It's what people were telling me I could.
You've just given us a master class. You really have. And who I'd like to convey and just kind of reframe what you just said to are managers, supervisors, executives out there, to adopt that kind of philosophy and make it about what their employees could be, and challenge them and give them projects and insight into the bigger world of the job that they're doing, and show them that they can do more and they can be more. And it's interesting how you ended up in that spot, just by saying yes, right? And when you were challenged with the things that someone else felt that you could do and could
Mm,
be,
mm,
you always said yes.
yeah.
And that's another lesson for employees out there, that say yes, take on the challenge and learn from it and learn from it. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So just a couple more questions, and then we're going to get into our fun part of this interview, right? Now, you are the first African American leader of this department, in a department that's existed since 1850. Very long time, right? Is that significance lost on you? Like, do you how do you deal with that kind of historic, right? That's history, um, historic point about your leadership in this department.
Yeah, so it's really uh, a true honor to look back on it. Like day to day, I don't really think about it, but there are opportunities where I look into our casework and try to inject conversations that are really important that haven't been happening before. And that purpose of alerting the community for causes of sudden death. The black population in LA County accounts for somewhere around 7% of the population. And yet 20 plus percent of our cases are African American, overrepresented. So my goal is to empower uh, the community, whether through other departments or the safety net of the county departments, or even themselves, to help each other out to identify their problems that affect their community specifically. I inject that into our daily case conferences, and those conversations didn't happen before. Before it was more like, okay, why did this person die? We got it. Okay, we figured it out. Next case. But I say, is there something about this individual that tells us it was going to happen? So I think about someone like Tupac. One of his songs was "Death Around the Corner." Is one of my favorite songs of his, and if you listen to the lyrics, he's talking about how he's going to die over and over again, and he's speaking to people, and so having his unique experience, but just kind of being ignored in a way, or like, ah, that's just how he is, or something like that. But he was actually telling us how it's going to happen. And so I want to have communities that have the effects happen that could happen in one group more than the other, to be able to say, hey, this guy's talking about this, and their medical examiner is saying that this is one of the signs that the person has problems with alcohol, or even
Yeah.
that they're going to die. And so I love that opportunity to be the voice to sort of change the way we are doing the work, but also recognize that there's a lot of hurt in the community uh, that is going on. And from what I hear, I'm listening to the community. I know that their concerns, and I want them to get to know what the medical examiner actually does and how we can help and be effective. Because at this point, what I hear is that the medical examiner is a crime and punishment person. Investigates a death and determines wrongdoing, and needs to do their job.
Yeah.
This is their job, is to you know uh, inculpate these or get these individuals in trouble, and to be held accountable. But I want to hear those concerns and educate the community about, hey, I know you're frustrated. This is a very frustrating thing, but this is what a medical examiner does. A cause of death doesn't mean other things didn't happen. If the cause of death is something natural, like let's say liver disease, this person may have a bruise. It's true, and we document that. We make that true. but it doesn't make it the cause of death. But we allow those conversations to be had, and we don't have the ability to say this person caused this and the kind of thing. So I hear those concerns, and I really want to be able to listen. And sometimes, if the person looks like you, maybe they give you a chance, and I'm excited about that opportunity of what it is when you see someone that looks like you, how the message may change.
Yeah. So you're using, I assume you're using the data and statistics of like what you just cited to help change that trajectory, change that narrative. And what are, and you've also mentioned a couple of ways that it sounds like you're doing that. You inform the Department of Public Health. I've also heard you say you inform the Department of maybe Public Social Services on different possible needs. Are there any other departments that you kind of collaborate with to share some of your insight into what you're seeing based upon deaths that are occurring, so that they then can in turn do something about it?
I love the idea of DPSS that you mentioned, and that's a new one that we would like to try to see how we can explore that.
Yes. Okay.
Like if there are social patterns that shows people are going down a path that can ultimately lead, and that's a perfect group
Yes.
to identify that. I really like that idea. And then also we have law enforcement agencies. We inform them of causes of sudden death so that they can, find the culprit, and the day in court can be had. Department of Child and Family Services as well. Whenever there's a child in a living situation, we want to make sure that the child is safe and that there's no risk for them to have sudden death. So one of the things, for example, is in infants, when they die from suffocation in their crib because there's too many toys and blankets in there. And so trying to change the language away from SIDS. SIDS is this so-called entity that people sort of created that we're trying to change the narrative in our department to show that it actually is suffocation, because then when they have another child, it's important for them to know that, wrapping them tight in a swaddle, swallowing them really tight and face down in the corner is deadly. And so the next child will not have to experience that. And so by telling them, the public, that, hey, this is the cause of death. And also when people leave the hospital, what are they told about the children? Do they have a crib? And let's say they don't have a crib, and that's an important thing to save the life. It's not just well, they don't have the funds, and that's where maybe DPSS or folks like that can help those
Yes.
people to say that this is important. They need to have their own separate sleeping area that's safe. And we also work, of course, when it comes to trial. DA's office has us as our expert witness, but that doesn't make us on the DA team. Again, we are on the justice team. And so the DA will ask us questions. The public defender may come and ask me questions beforehand as well. And I engage both groups the same. But we work with both of those groups to help them find that justice in the end. So those are the examples.
Yeah.
DMH, suicide review team. We're working on a veteran suicide review team, which is probably one of the very few in the country that have a system where we set up this review of suicides in the county. So that's one way that we collaborate. So many collaborations that may not be intuitive.
Yeah.
And there's room for more.
You see, I could do this all day with you, Dr. Ukpo. You also just gave our audience some helpful hints on things that they do not want to do to potentially prevent deaths. And we had Kurt Florin in this chair, and he loves his job, right? And Kurt talked about certain things that we can do when we go to the scales, when we're purchasing things. Is there any other advice like what you talked about? Small children, the suffocation issue, leaving the hospital, separate sleeping space, cribs. Are there any other insight information that for our folks listening that you would give as it relates to, preventing death?
Yeah, so I'll share with you guys fresh, hot off the presses, a new thing that we discovered as an emerging threat to the community is a drug agent that's called 7-hydroxymetragenine. And this agent we found was causing deaths most recently. And the scary thing is that it can be found in a smoke shop. It can be found in a gas station. And the instructions are not very clear on what to take, and it can cause a sudden death. And it's readily accessible to the community. That's a threat that we got on as soon as possible and informed public health. So we've been putting out messaging on that. So folks that are understand that kratom is the other version that has not been as deadly. The new version is 7-hydroxymetragenine. Folks that are taking this drug have talked about the withdrawal being worse than anything they've ever experienced, even though they've had experience with other drugs like oxycodone, hydrocodone, other drugs, they've had withdrawal. And they mentioned that the withdrawal for this one is a nightmare compared to those. Very powerful agent. And so we're getting ahead of it to make sure that we take the precautions and inform public health to get their messaging out for the people who are out there and alive and engaging those folks. So that's one of the new things I really like people to take advantage of, is to really look at anything called 7-OH on there is what you might see on the label there, but it's a very dangerous thing to be using.
Okay. All right. I'm sure our audience thanks you for that, right? So let's lighten up the mood a little bit, right? So I have some questions for you. These are just some questions, and you tell me what comes to, like, first thing that comes to mind for you. All right.
Okay.
Who are some key mentors or influencers over your career?
Wow. So one key influencer that I remember was when I was a resident in pathology. I had one mentor that he was a bit of a curmudgeon. He had a history of being, I mean, people would leave his office crying type of person,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I remember I learned that I was going to do my rotation. It's random who you get selected to. And so I got him assigned to him. I'm like, oh my goodness,
Not
here we
me.
go. I'm going to get my armor on and got to
Yeah.
get ready for
Yeah.
this guy. And I remember sitting at his desk, and he had only like this tight spot in his corner, so we had to look at the microscope together. But he only had this like tight spot. So I had my long legs, and I'm like this, trying to sit in this tight spot, and he's just teaching me like, "What are you doing?" Questioning
Yes.
what I was doing, and he uh, wanted me to be better. He wanted me to be excellent and be safe, and so that's how I received the advice that he gave me. And one time, a surgeon tried to give me a hard time, and he fought back for me. And he told me, don't let anyone tell you how to do your job." And what he meant was someone who doesn't know anything, just kind of being able to make me feel a certain way about
Yes.
my job and to
Yes.
tell me how it's done. He said, don't ever let them do that to you. And he showed me how to talk to them and let them know
Got it.
I'm worth something, and we should be respected and not talked to like some, like tool, let's say. So I really admired that, his toughness on me, but then also showing that as well. And he also, one day I was walking by a consensus conference, and he said, "Look at those guys over there getting together to find the wrong answer." And that stuck with me.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to think about consensus and how consensus, it's such a friendly word. Engaging is a positive thing.
Okay.
I feel good when you hear the word consensus, but it can also be the death sentence to the best
Yep.
idea.
For sure. For sure.
And so those two things that he taught me were always that kind of stuck with me. So that's the first person that I kind of think about that had a big impact.
What ritual or practice do you have for yourself after a long day and you need to relax?
Yeah, another great question. I do this actually throughout the day. This is my ritual that started I think it was in 2005 when I was a graduate student. Uh, and mind you, when I was a graduate student, it was during medical school. I took
Mhm.
a hiatus. And so it was a new program at Mayo Clinic on clinical research. And so I'm here, I'm as a student, and my fellow classmates were physicians who are usually my supervisors and giving me grades and giving me
Mhm.
a hard time, whatever. I jumped into a situation in a very well respected institution and with the physicians who were supposed to, and but I was in it with them, and we learned together how to navigate the challenges of clinical research, and so that experience was really something for me uh, uh, to go through, and I think that the um, that led to a lot of challenges that I had because no one knew what the program was. And so, as a result of it, even my mentors who were assigned to mentor me didn't know what I was supposed to be doing and that kind of thing. So, I had to develop my thesis by myself.
Okay.
It wasn't like the professor gave it to me.
Yeah.
I had to develop it on my own, and I had to get my own funding. So I was up against two challenges as a student that I wasn't ready for. So what I learned to do was to do walks. I did a walk in a park in Minnesota, and I still remember it was hot, humid, and I remember fireflies, and that stimulated my mind, and all my thoughts for my thesis came to fruition in that long walk I did that started in the day and ended in the night with these fireflies. I still remember that, and
Yeah.
that walk became a very important thing. And so, as a result of that walk, I incorporate that into my daily routine. It's still with me from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It takes time, but like I said, no one ever has time. No one has time because you have to make it. And so I make time to do that. So I walk like 6 miles a day.
Wow.
Six
Wow.
6 miles a day, no matter what. And
I
that's
need you as a commitment partner.
so
What, like 6 miles a
yeah,
day?
6 miles a
It's
day. And
great.
even though I'm at work, I find times to do that walk, but it all amounts to that and decompression. And I feel good, and my
There it
thoughts are
is.
clearer
There it
and,
is.
and that kind of thing. And it's deadly to just sit all day.
Yeah.
The days that I sit all day, I actually feel it like, oh, this is a do-over day. I got to do
Mhm.
better next time.
And you're using those moments to kind of think through, how you feel, what you want, all of that, and you're using that walking to do that and reset how you're thinking.
Yeah.
All right.
So reset, checking the emails, but also reading a lot. I love to read. I love to read.
That was my next question. Tell me, what are you reading right now? Or tell me kind of one of your favorite books that you've read.
Yeah. So the book I'm reading right now is one that I never had the chance to when I was younger. Was To Kill a Mockingbird.
Really? Okay.
So that's what I'm reading right now. I'm halfway through that book, and I read all kinds of things. But recently, what brought me there was first read about Lincoln,
Hmm.
President Lincoln. Then I read Uncle Tom's Cabin. And then after that, I read a biography on Mark Twain. And the reason why I read the biography on Mark Twain is because when I was a kid in high school, Huckleberry Finn, that was a tough read. Because, like I said, I was the only black in many situations.
Yeah.
So in that class, I felt very hurt by that experience. And I thought that Mark Twain is a racist. Despised, I was like, this guy's really, how is he a
Yeah.
hero? But I learned that he was a strong abolitionist, and he was actually mocking the idiocy of the whole process of racism and slavery.
Yeah.
And so I got to know him. And that's why it was important for me to get to know him. So that's sort of like a mix of reading, but that's where I'm at right now
Okay.
in that area. But I read all
All
kinds
right.
of things, Napoleon, you know.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, so that's a great question because it's something that I've thought about that I used to think like I want to have a legacy, and that's really important for me. Uh, but actually, what I'm trying to do is conquer my reputation, overcome it.
What do you mean by that?
And what I mean by that is that a lot of times when we have something, your reputation is at stake. You know, someone can say a small thing, that can destroy the foundation of your work, that you put so much work into it, and it just takes a little thing from anybody just to say something about you, and you just collapse. The feeling about your work, it just kind of falls apart. Like it's not worth it. You know, you start to question,
Yes.
did I do the right thing, kind of thing. And I think those are very human feelings. And what I'm trying to do when I talk about conquering my reputation is to not worry about that part and just really look about, other than legacy, look at like impact, you know, for myself to be able to conquer that so I can be my best self for wherever I am. And then the legacy is what people decide, same as reputation, you know. And but for me, I'm really trying to just do the best I can with the situation in front of me.
Got it.
So I've since transitioned away from thinking, you know, about legacy. What does that look like?
Okay. I'm kind of with you, but I do feel like you know, leading this department and knowing that you want to leave it better than you found it, and hopefully having introduced innovations that no one else has thought of, because we're in a different day, we're in a different time, it's different technologies. I think you're building on that legacy, but I do get your point. Or well, those were kind of our get to know you a little bit better question. I just have a couple more questions for you, and this is what we call our lightning round, right? So you're just going to give me the first thought, no explanation, just give me top of mind, right?
Okay.
Coffee or tea,
T.
dog or cat?
Ooh, it became dog.
Became
It
dog.
became dog.
Okay.
That's a story.
Lab coat or field vest?
Ooh, wow. Uh, that's a good one. I'm gonna say lab coat, but man, that's a good one.
Okay. I see. I'm gonna pause. I have the right to pause sometimes. Why? Why? That took a lot of thought. So you got to tell me why.
It all goes back to that dichotomy I taught you about. My hero was James
Coat.
Bond, right?
Yeah.
So James Bond, you know, having the ability to do both. So I saw the field vest as like being in the field, getting that work done, and in a dangerous situation, but then being able to come back to a more clean environment and do experiments, kind of thing.
Okay.
So that's why I sort of
All
struggled
right.
with.
Music you're listening to right now.
Right now, I'm listening to Ella Fitzgerald on my way here.
Awesome. Favorite activity to engage in LA? Some fun activity that you like doing.
Let's see. I'm a foodie. I love exploring new food places and trying to do something near where that restaurant is. That's
Okay.
fun.
If you didn't have your current position, what would you be doing?
Uh, I might be either a concert pianist or a philosopher.
What are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for all the people that really support me and had put me in those situations of what you could be, situation that brought me to where I am today.
If you could have dinner with any one person, living or having passed, who would it be and why?
Huh. There's a lot of people, but for some reason I'm thinking about, and this might not be popular, but I think about uh, Julius Caesar,
Mm,
because such a complicated leader position, uh, a brilliant person, but very controversial methods and things like that. A great leader, but had his flaws, and so would want to pick his brain. Like, yeah.
all right. You just talked about that concert pianist, so that means you play. Tell me your favorite thing to play on the piano.
So I'm self-taught on the piano. So I actually compose music. I don't actually play
Okay.
others. So I'm sort of like, get me on the piano and I'll play something,
Hmm.
whatever I'm in the mood for. So
Okay. All right.
yeah.
All right. Well, that was our lightning
Okay.
round. I think
I
we learned. I
survived.
love it. I loved it.
Ooh, that's
Like we learned to. You said, "Oh."
oh yeah.
All right. So let's wrap this up, folks. So I have just a couple more questions for you. First, I'm just going to ask you, you talked about the work that your employees are doing and how they're helping our county, our public. I'd like you to talk to them for a moment and just thank them for what they're doing for us and your appreciation for what they do.
Yeah, to my staff, your greatness is such appreciated for day in, night out. I can be anywhere, and I know you're doing that great work for people, despite who you see every day or how people feel about the work. You come in with this joy and energy to help the community in this very unique way. I think that without this doesn't happen at all. I'm reminded of the greatness of all individuals. You look to all of them, and it is about the people who are around them that consistently stepped up with excellence, and that's what you do each time. I might be sleeping at 3 a.m. You're up. You're up there, and you're out in the field. You're asking questions. You're meeting people. And regardless of where I am, those struggles happen throughout. So I'm just very grateful to be leading such a special group that is, we're undersized for the work, and we continue to get that support, and it's coming. And I'm working to help everyone to change the narrative about our work, more visibility about it, and cheers to brighter days. And it's going to take time, and I appreciate all the patience that you have with me on this long journey that I don't know how long it'll take, but I'm walking with you.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm sure your employees appreciated that. And to the folks, to our general viewers and listeners of this podcast, we're going to end on that message from Dr. Ukpo to his staff. And we want to thank Dr. Ukpo, our chief medical examiner for LA County, for joining us today. And he really has dispelled myths about forensic science, and he shared some of the emotional weight that comes with his work, and also ideas on what we can do and what his team is doing to address wellness within his workforce. Dr. Ukpo today, he reminded us that behind every case is a story, there's a family, and there's a duty to tell the truth no matter how difficult it is. And if this episode gave you any new insight into the world of death investigation, leadership, public health, or the humanity behind the headlines that you see when his department is called upon, consider sharing the message, the story that you heard today with someone, and we really would appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, tell us how we're doing. And with that, I want to thank you, Dr. Ukpo, for joining us. Your presence is appreciated.
All right.
Take care. Live from LA County Podcast.